Hello again, and welcome to Nonprofit Marketing with Purpose. I'm really excited to introduce you to Peggy Kirkpatrick in this episode. Now, I'm a huge fan of Peggy. I actually met her at a workshop that we were doing for our local nonprofits through Launch U, which is with the Central Bank of Boone County. She, myself, and Carrie Hopkins with Coyote Hill Christian Children's Home, which Carrie is also amazing. But anyway, we did a Q&A session with our local nonprofits. And when Peggy started talking, it was everything I could do not to grab a notebook and try to write down verbatim every single thing that she said, because she is so incredibly authentic about all of her experiences. She just tells it like it is. I love it. Now, I come from a business background, and I think that what draws me to Peggy's philosophies on marketing and fundraising and storytelling for nonprofits is that she's very entrepreneurial about it. Like, there isn't a challenge that she sees that she can't tackle. She was the director of the food bank for Central and Northeast Missouri for 22 years, and now she heads up GP Made, which to my local friends in Columbia, Missouri, that is Gary Pinkel's foundation. Gary Pinkel was our longtime football coach at the University of Missouri-Columbia. Go Tigers! Okay, so man, my audio was such a mess during this Facebook Live, so I'm going to try to dub in and make this work, because I just feel like I would be doing a huge disservice to you by not allowing you to meet Peggy and hear all of her awesome stories. Like, seriously, if she had a fan club, I would join it. Okay, enough of this fangirl babble. Let's get to business. You're on a mission, and you just need more people to know about it. And whether you're brand new to marketing or a seasoned pro, we are all looking for answers to make marketing decisions with purpose. I'm Monica Pitts, a techie, crafty business owner, mom, and aerial dancer who solves communication challenges through technology. This podcast is all about digging in and going digital. I'll share my marketing know-how and business experience from almost 20 years of misadventures. I'll be your backup dancer, so you can stop doubting and get moving towards marketing with purpose. So before we jump into this interview, I just want to let you know that if you are in the middle of planning your nonprofit's marketing plan right now, then I have a solution for you, and it's not just downloading the free template, because sometimes DIY is great and sometimes it's just straight up overwhelming, right? So you don't have to do this on your own. You can join me and other nonprofits at the Nonprofit Marketing Plan Workshop and Consulting Package. Save the date for February 24th. My goal with this workshop and consulting package is to create a supportive environment for nonprofit organizations to collaborate and create attainable, less stressful, and more successful marketing plans. So if that sounds like something that you need, then save the date and we're going to get it all done. Okay? Registration opens February 9th on makecreate.com. I hope to see you there. Peggy, I am super excited about talking with you today. You have been on my bucket list to interview on the podcast since I started it, for real. So why don't you kick us off by telling us about your history in nonprofit awesomeness?
Okie doke. Not all of my nonprofit experience was awesome. I'll have to tell you that. Again, my name is Peggy Kirkpatrick. I have been working with fundraising and not-for-profits. Started as a volunteer and did volunteer things for about 10 years. I actually learned the craft part of it through volunteer work, working on local political campaigns, but also working with a women's leadership organization, doing fundraising events for local and national and international. I got the job at the food bank when nobody knew what the food bank for Central and Northeast Missouri was. And I got it solely on volunteer experience. And I was there for about 22 years. When I left there, I thought I really wanted to retire. That didn't take. So what I ended up doing was I filled in for United Way when they were doing a new executive director search. Then I was the campaign manager for Boys and Girls Club for their $2.5 million campaign, was campaign manager for Welcome Home for they needed to still raise about $1 million. And then Gary Pinkel snagged me and said, "You owe me for all the years I did Score Against Hunger with the food bank." And I said, "You're right." So I've been there for the last year and a half, and just also working with other not-for-profits on a volunteer capacity. Love Inc. on their capital campaign and United Community Builders. So there you go. That's me.
So we reconnected this summer because you were part of my audience discovery interviews and process. I called you and I was like, hey, I've got this idea. I'm going to help nonprofits plan their marketing and do more stuff on their own. Will you help me and tell me everything that you know? And you totally did. And it was really awesome. So thank you so much. That was such a great phone call for me to understand what people did from a marketing perspective, especially with all your experience. Now, when we talked, you explained to me that you do the same type of thing that I was doing on the phone with you before you go ask someone for a donation or ask someone to get involved with your organization. You do your homework, you call it. Tell me a little bit about what that process looks like.
Well, before you approach a donor, then this is what I always told my staff at the food bank, wherever. You need to do your homework. Who are these people? What are their hot buttons? If your charity or your not for profit focuses on, say, the elderly, and their hot button is the kids, you better figure out a way to tie those two together, or you're wasting your time and their time. So you need to know, what are they interested about? What are they passionate about? You also need to try and do some digging into their capacity for giving, because you could offend someone, believe it or not, if you ask for too much or if you ask for too little. And you could leave money on the table if their normal gift is, say, 25,000 and you ask for 200. So you need to know how have they given, who have they given to, what their interests are, and you need to get to know them. It's as you and I talked, Monica, both last year and this summer. Really good donor cultivation is all about relationships. You need to know who your donors are, and you need to develop a relationship with them. And the other things that I told my staff before you approach anyone, a business, an organization, an individual, you need to ask and answer at least two things. What's in it for them, and why should they care? What's in it for them means, what are their goals? Let's say, and I'm just picking a business out of the air. Let's say you want to make a pitch to Mawkins Automotive Group. And you need to find out, what can you give them? Can you give them marketing? Can you give them state tax credits? Can you give them special recognition? What's in it for them? It's got to be a win-win proposition, or else people won't give you the time of day. They may say yes once, they won't say yes again. The other thing is why should they care? Every good not-for-profit should have stories about how you have impacted your clients, your cause, how things have changed for the better. You need to be able to tell them how efficient and effective you are. You need to be able to tell them why their support, their gift matters. What did you do with it? If it's a repeat ask, you'd be amazed. One of the biggest cardinal sins of not-for-profits is not saying thank you, not writing thank you letters, not writing thank you notes, not doing something extra special to say, wow, thank you so much for your partnership. You need to bring your donors in as a partner, not as somebody who will give you stuff. There are people that I have known, and I've tried to get it out of them, and it's not. They have an attitude of, what have you done for me lately? That will kill your donor relationships. That will kill your reputation, especially in Columbia. Because once they know that all you care about is me, and my organization, you're on the bad list. Monica, you want to jump in here? You know, I can just blather. So,
I mean, you can keep going, but I'll chime in. I love it, and I 100% agree with you. This year in June, we did a donor survey of our Como Gives donors from the previous year. So in 2020, we did a survey of our 2019 donors. And one thing that I found really surprising is that they said that they were not thanked for their donations, which I thought was really strange because I have a stack of thank you cards for my involvement in the campaign. And I never feel like what I'm doing isn't worth it or like I'm not making a difference. I literally go back to those thank you cards and reread them occasionally because they remind me of why I'm here, like why I'm doing this, right? But what those donor survey results taught me is that we need to have a continual expression of thanks in our marketing for the campaign. It's not just saying thank you once, but that they hear it on a continual recurring basis so that they never forget what a vital role they play in making these organizations successful and helping our community be stronger.
the other thing is that I always was looking for a hook and a niche. Let me explain that. I wanted the food bank, which was not very well known in 1992. No, nobody knew what the heck it was or who it was. And literally the flood of 93 propelled the organization into a leadership role in the community and regionally. But I was always looking for a special way of saying thank you to people that there was no way I could afford to pay for their services. There was no way the food bank had the money. For instance, Vangle Associates, which Mike Vangle is still out there doing it, but his business, I think, has just become him. But Mike Vangle invested in the food bank. And a couple of things that I did was I constantly told people who brought us to where we were, who did our marketing, who gave us the vision and the clarity of what our purpose was, who defined our message into a tagline or a soundbite. For instance, our tagline in the beginning was the food bank. We work for food. You see all those people holding up those signs at the exit ramp saying, we'll work for food. No, most of them were panhandlers. We did. And so we took that, and that was our tagline for the longest time. Later, they helped us evolve it to share food, bring hope. How do you thank somebody like that? So I made it a point of, on a regular basis, baking them some cookies or some candies. And at Christmas time, bring them a whole tray of stuff. And I used to do that with all of our media partners, with the newspapers and radio and television. It got to the point where I couldn't go to a meeting empty-handed, or else they nailed me and said, "Where's the cookies? Leave, get out of here." So, but you got to do it because it's you. I love to bake, hence the body. So you got to find something that's uniquely you and do that. If you're somebody that makes awesome bread, do that. If you grow great flowers, bring them a bouquet of flowers or something. But again, what's in it for them? I always named dropped.
Mm-hmm.
Not who donors are. I certainly didn't do that, especially if they didn't want it. But I name dropped who our in-kind donors were.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's in it for them is all of that publicity, all of that. They did that. It was their idea. If you want to have a great brand and a vision, contact them or ask this radio station to help you with this, or, you've got to be very analytical when you approach people. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying, Monica?
I do understand. And I want to add that as a business that is philanthropically minded, May Create doesn't get involved with a nonprofit cause, something like the Como Gives campaign that we help market locally, because we expect a thank you. We didn't do it because we wanted to get a bunch of publicity. We did it because it was the right thing to do, right? And I never expect a thank you. I really don't, but I definitely feel a glow inside me of pride every single time that John, with the Community Foundation of Central Missouri, he will stand up in front of the other organizations and thank us. And they thank us in their radio ads and in their TV ads. And it makes me feel like I've done a good thing when he thanks me. And it's never expected. And so I don't want people to think that the reason that businesses get involved with your organization is because they're looking for a thank you or they're looking for a kickback. That's one of the benefits of being involved with you, yes, but you should be seeking out businesses that have like values and an overlapping mission with that of your organization. They should be getting involved with you because they know it's the right thing to do and because they know that your cause is valuable and they know that you're going to do good things with their cause. But at the same time, especially at the beginning of a relationship, there's always that what's in it for me quotient, regardless of what type of a relationship it is, right? And so that's where that homework comes in. It's understanding who you're talking to so that way you can connect with them about the thing that they care about and provide value back to them in a way that they find valuable.
Right. There are ways that you can sell what you're doing. Let me give you an example. A lot of these are really old, but the concept is still unique. In the early 90s, the food bank had no semi tractors, had no semi trailers. We needed both. We had a grant given to us to purchase a used semi tractor. Well, now we need a trailer, one of those big, long 40 footers or bigger. We had no money for that. So, again, analytically, who's got money, what's in it for them, and why should they care?
Mm-hmm.
So, figure out who's got money and what can you do to help them and make it a win win. Well, there was the Cosmopolitan Luncheon Club. They had a lot of money because bingo was big back then. And so I'm applying this and I'm going to the Cosmos. Okay, what's in it for them? Why should they care? What do they need? They need members. Okay, they need publicity about their organization. So I approached them and I said, if you would give us, I don't know how much it was, let's say $8,000, that we can buy a semi trailer. We'll put your logo on the side of it along with our logo. We'll have our logo, Partners in Hunger Relief, and your logo. And this semi trailer is going to travel all over Missouri. So it's a traveling billboard.
Mm-hmm.
They jumped at it. And plus, I said, we'll give you first right of refusal for any additional trailers we acquire.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge, by the way. So then they jumped at it. They said, absolutely, we'll do it. Now, my problem was I had no money to put the logos on the side of the trailer. And I'm thinking, okay, who would want their logo on the side of the trailer and could afford to pay for it? I approached Zimmer Radio Group and I said, hey, you want to have your logo on there with us and the Cosmopolitan Luncheon Club, Partners in Hunger Relief? You pay for the logos, which they did in trade. And they jumped at it because now they're getting a mobile billboard. They put two of their top stations on there. I think one side was Clear 99 and the other one was Y107, I think. And they paid for all of it. And then on top of it, it says, when we're ready to launch this, we'll do a food drive at the state fair and vow to raise 99,000 pounds of food.
That's a ton of food.
Yeah, more than a ton. And we said, yeah. See how all of a sudden it became a win, win, win?
Mm-hmm.
And we again gave them first right of refusal. Well, it was so successful, other media outlets contacted us and said, we want to do a trailer. And we said, no. We made a deal with Zimmer. If they say no, then we'll come to you. Loyalty is something that I was brought up with. And this is an old adage, but you go home with the person who brought you to the dance. You don't say, okay, I came with Joe Blow, but John Travolta, back when he was hot, wants to dance with me. You see how old I am.
Oh, I know John Travolta.
Yeah,
Ooh,
but
buddy, that guy can dance.
Saturday Night Fever, those guys, when he was really hot. So you're with Joe Blow, but John Travolta now all of a sudden wants to dance with you and maybe take you home. You don't do that.
Mm-mm.
You go home with Joe Blow. He brought you to the dance. You can dance with John if Joe is okay with it. But loyalty is really important in this whole donor relationships because we're not talking about somebody who'll write out a check for $50,000. We're talking about somebody who could give you $50,000 in kind. That's
I feel
huge.
like one of the things that you do really well is you see an obstacle and you don't think, oh, there's just one way I can solve this problem. You see all kinds of solutions and you work through them and figure out which one's the best one for the situation. I mean, I see a lot of nonprofits on Facebook on the groups that I'm on, and they'll make a comment and say, I want to sell t shirts to raise money, but I don't have enough money to get the t shirts printed initially. And so I go to like this entrepreneurial spot in my brain, and I feel like there's a really clear solution to that challenge. You have people order their t shirts and pay you for them when they order them, and then you place one big t shirt order. You mark up the price of the t shirts so that you make a profit on it. And then with that profit from the initial t shirt order, you order your next run of t shirts that you can sell to people on a one off basis. I feel like some of these people trying to solve these challenges, they just have tunnel vision and they only see this one solution. And I feel like that's just one thing that you don't have at all. You just see all these opportunities.
And see, that's exactly what I didn't realize I had an entrepreneurial streak in me until I went to the food bank. And that's my second strongest asset is that I also didn't treat the food bank like a charity. I treated it like a business that looked at its bottom line differently. And that's real important because if you're just going to go and say, well, we hope we're going to raise this and we kind of think we're going to do this, and you approach a business person with that, uh, you'd be good to get a second meeting. They want to know what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, and how efficiently you'll get it done. They don't want you to waste their dollar. No donor does. No donor wants you to waste anything that they give you. Another thing that I always told my staff is I said, regardless of what we do, it's never about the food bank. It's about the people who can help and the people who need help. We're just the bridge, we're the conduit. That's all we are. If you start believing your press clippings and the media things that want to put you on a pedestal or make you the next Mother Teresa or whatever, you're in big trouble because it's gotten worse. Used to, you could be the hot stuff for at least maybe half a year. Nowadays you may be hot stuff for a day. Uh, so, but you want them to remember what your organization is. Another question that I have for people: are you passionate about what you do? Because if you don't have passion for what you do, that's going to carry across when you make a presentation to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just facts and figures, no stories, no passion, no enthusiasm, no zeal, they're going to go, okay, next. They're not going to be interested.
I agree. And really, it's the exact same way with businesses. They will sit down in front of me and they start talking about what they do. And I'm like, man, I don't get it. I have no idea. I sometimes I don't understand how they're making money. But then second, I'm just not understanding the problem that they solve for people or why people would want to buy their product or service. And until a prospective client can explain that to me, it I don't even know if I want to help them market their company, because it doesn't matter what website or ads or campaign I put together for you. I mean, you could pay millions of dollars on marketing, but until you can talk about what you do effectively and show how it solves people's problems, you can't sell your service. Really, like, you're your biggest asset. And that's another thing that a lot of organizations, they don't realize, that each person in their organization, like you were talking with and explaining to your staff, that you are a bridge, like each person there is a bridge. And each person is like an ambassador for your organization. They're part of the marketing. So they need to be able to answer and know how to talk about simple to moderately complex questions, or at least know who to direct people to get that information, because that's all being able to communicate who you are as an organization, which is part of your marketing. Which, like, brings me to a question that I have for you. When you're getting ready to go in and talk to somebody and show them the what's in it for me factor, are there different activities that you do to prepare for that? How do you do it?
Um, that's a good question. One of the things, again, it goes back to homework. If I'm going to approach a business, I try and find out what they support, whether with in-kind donations or cash donations. I try and find out whatever I can, and there's all sorts of software that'll give you some of that information. But now in this, we didn't have Google search back in the dark ages. We didn't have any of that stuff. So you've got all of these search engines that can help you find that information. One of the best things to do, if you can't find out anything, you sit down. Monica, let's say you're the business person I'm wanting to do something with. I'm going to sit down and say, Monica, one of the things that and let's say I'm representing GP Made Foundation, which, by the way, is Gary Pinkel, and then the MADE is an acronym for Make a Difference Every Day. So okay, so if I'm going to approach you and I can't get enough information, I'm going to say, Monica, would you mind telling me what your goals are as an organization? What you hope to accomplish this year or in the next 5 years? And listen, because they are going to tell you the key to how to tailor your proposal to fit them. Or if it doesn't, you're going to say, this ain't going to work, because you're all about animals and the environment, and my organization isn't even close to that. My organization is dealing with the elderly and the homeless.
Mm-hmm.
Not even close. So they will find that refreshing, that you're saying, I don't think we can make a connection here. Sometimes I've had the business try and make the connection because they really wanted to do something with us at the food bank. And so then you have to try and work with them. But you also have to know what you will and will not partner with. We had one organization that wanted to sponsor a heavy metal concert, and it just didn't fit us at all. And then we had another one that wanted to do a wet T-shirt contest. Nah. So you have to know what you will. For instance, if you're a drug and alcohol rehab center, are you going to have a wine tasting fundraiser? You shouldn't, but a lot of them do.
So what you just described is a trap that I find that businesses and nonprofits both fall into repeatedly as they're trying to promote their organizations. Your fundraising events and your marketing should be something that align with your values and your mission. It doesn't have to be what everyone else does. And I know it feels like that's what should happen, right? Because everybody does a gala, you should be doing a gala. Or gala, bleh, tomato, tomato. But you know what I'm saying. So I was in a consulting session after our fundraising events boot camp, and it was so great. I even fell into the trap though, because all of us were brainstorming ways that we could get people involved and really interact on social media and virtually, especially in this weird time, with their event, which was a 5K held over Halloween time. And we were so excited, and we were like, we're going to have a pet costume contest. This is going to be so awesome. It's the best idea ever. And then I thought, wait a second. No, wait. We are so far off base. This is an educational foundation. How did we get all the way to pets and costumes? Like, what are we doing? Right? And so then we had to like flip that on its head and be like, well, we could have a costume contest. It just probably needs to be something that has to do with the organization and is realigning people with the value of education. So instead, they decided that they could still have a costume contest. It would just be people dressing up as their favorite teachers. So we could be celebrating and giving thanks for the opportunity of education instead of focusing on our pets, which are totally awesome. I love pets and costumes. It's just not really focused on the mission and the values of that organization.
That's great for Second Chance, though, or the Humane Society or one of those organizations.
Yeah.
Or even, a pet center type of thing, Lizzie and Rocco,
Mm-hmm.
that are wanting to promote their business. That's a great idea for those kinds of things. So again, you've got to know what your audience is. I'm the reason I'm hesitating is because there is an organization in town and they do a hugely successful event that I would have never done in all of my life. Never would have done it because to me, it flew in the face of what they represented. And yet their thought was we should be able to do whatever. So you also need to be prepared for, are you going to be political? Are
Mm-hmm.
you going to make a political statement? I avoided those at all costs. And in today's extremely volatile climate, I wouldn't do anything that smacks politically for anything. But you have to understand, I'm of a different era. I'm of the dinosaur era. So,
Well, not all attention is good attention. And if it's not the right type of political attention, then it can be really strange for a business to have to deal with. Like at May Create, we purposefully do not talk politics at all in any of our marketing because our clients have so many different viewpoints, and I personally don't really pay much attention to it all. I kind of isolate myself. I live in this world of intaking news that's important to me and my job function. So, like, if you ask me, hey, did you see this political thing on the news today? I would be like, no, but did you know that Facebook changed its ads algorithm or that Google just released a new search algorithm? Because I'd probably know about that. Or maybe we could talk about, Harry Potter or the hexadecimal code for black. But that's about all I have for you because I don't really talk politics and we don't do it in our marketing on purpose.
the quickest way to lose a donor is to get into some of that, especially if you're on the wrong side.
Yeah, I can see that.
Um, but if your donor happens to be on, for instance, the food bank had a donor and very large donor, wonderful, wonderful partners with the food bank. I'd gotten to know them very, very well. He was an ordained minister. I knew that. So when we'd get together, we'd kind of go that way. But if you're not comfortable with that, or if it's going to come across fake, don't go there,
Mm-mm.
because that'll people will know and spot it right away. But a basic thing is you don't talk politics or religion for a major reason. It'll get you in trouble. Um, Another thing that, let me give you an example of something. I attended a workshop eons ago, and I'll never forget that an example they gave of how to make an outstanding presentation. It was for the American Heart Association, and they were calling on past donors to thank them for their donation and ask for a new donation for this year. Well, this one representative of the organization brought along a child about 8 or 9, and they met in the man's office and sat down, and the CEO, knew who the guy was, and he says, "Who's your buddy here?" And he says, "He's a child that you helped save his life. Because of your donation, he was able to get a heart procedure that their family couldn't afford, and he's alive today because of people like you." The man wrote a humongous check right then, got on the phone, called his wife while they were there, and said, "You will never guess who is in my office." I heard this story probably about 20 years ago, and it still brings tears to my eyes, because that's the kind of an impact you want to be able to have with thanking people or telling your story. People always used to complain that when I would speak at something, I'd make them cry. No, I never did it. I just tell them the story, and their heart would open up and receive it, and they would embrace it and want to do something. That's when you know you have someone wanting to be on your side and help you.
Oh, what an amazing thank you. I know last year we got just an incredible thank you from one of the organizations that we support, which is Mobility Worldwide Columbia. So last year we donated a pet cart, which, for those of you who don't know what that is, it is a hand operated cart that people who can't walk or have leg disabilities, they receive these carts as donations from Mobility Worldwide. And so we donated a pet cart and we decorated it. I don't even know. It was maybe like a $300 donation. It wasn't a huge donation, but they sent us a video of the little boy over in Africa receiving his pet cart. And they showed him getting into it and driving around. And I'm getting tears in my eyes just thinking about it. It was so amazing. Like, so amazing to see him be able to move around independently in this thing that we built as a team. It was gratifying that my team had done that together, that our company had contributed that, and that he had so much value from it. Like, his life was better, and we did this and we got to see it. It was the best thank you I have ever had. And it was like, ah. And then this year they sent us a thank you note for our this year's donation for our pet cart, which we didn't get to decorate for COVID reasons, which is kind of sad because our last year's one was just like banging awesome, covered in glitter and colors and awesomeness. But they sent us this thank you note just last week with a picture of that lovely, like, boy on his pet cart thanking us for this donation. Wow. Like, again, wow. Way to personalize it. I mean, makes my heart beat fast. I feel like we've covered some serious ground here. We've had a lot of different really good topics that you have told stories about and given advice on. So, if you could give any final words of advice to our listeners about what their donors need to hear and how to discover that, what would you say?
Well, one thing is, I think the biggest thing is listen. Don't hear, listen. For instance, I am working with United Community Builders. which is I'm on their board, and it's a predominantly African American organization wanting to have an impact on predominantly African American people in the northeast part of the city. And what I've discovered over the years is a lot of organizations that are white want to do stuff for people who are Black, but they don't necessarily want to do that with them. Big difference. Big difference. So here are your donors. Are they wanting to do something for or with? Are they wanting to do something for, write out a check, go away, I'm happy, tell me what happened? Or I want to be more involved. Send me stories, send me pictures, the cart. If you really want to bring a donor in and change them from a donor to a friend, bring them in. Have more. There was one donor that he was a food bank donor, and then I approached him when I was doing the Boys and Girls Club campaign. He became a Boys and Girls Club donor. Then he became a Welcome Home donor. Then he became a GP Made donor. Then he became a United Community Builders donor because his relationship was with me, and we had lunch together all the time, just to catch up and see what's going on. And he would bring it up. I wouldn't keep hitting him up for money. He would say, I have extra money to make a withdrawal from my retirement account. Who should I give it to? And we'd talk about all these different organizations, and he'd choose. So you have no idea who your donors are until you investigate. One last thing, and I don't know if you have time for this. Do you? One quick. There was a lady who used to volunteer at the food bank. Grew up in the Depression, went through World War II, always dressed very modestly, just a wonderful, giving person. One day she walked in and we started the milk program, the fresh milk program, which was the prelude to the Buddy Pack program. And she says, I want to be a major contributor to this program. And she gave me a check for $10,000. And now back in the 90s, that, 10,000 is still a big gift, but back then it was a huge gift. And I looked at her and I said, Margaret, you can't afford to do this. I said, I can't let you do this. She burst out laughing and she says, honey, I'm a multimillionaire. I never knew it. I never knew it because she didn't come across like that. And she became a friend and a partner to the organization. And she became a bigger and bigger donor simply by us sharing the vision and her being involved. So I hope somebody's gotten something out of all of this because I had fun talking to you.
That is such great advice. I 100% agree with you. Your perceptions of a human or a person that you're talking to are not necessarily the truth. And they talk about this in sales, and they explain that from a business perspective, there's a budget for this thing that this business is going to do or this person is going to do. There's their perceived budget, there's their emotional budget, and there's their actual budget. So you should never be imposing a budget on the person that you're speaking to. You don't get to make decisions for them. They get to make the decisions on their own. It's your job to understand them so you can have a conversation with them, and then they can reciprocate with the budget that they feel is fair for the thing that you are offering.
And never take no as an answer. Regard it as a not now. You didn't ask the right question or the timing wasn't right. Rarely have I had a no stick.
You're relentless.
Well, I wasn't a nag and I wasn't pestering them, but I would always think, is this something they might be interested in? So I'd run it past them, not in a pushy way, not in a you owe me. I'd say, hey, you want to try this? We're going to be doing it. And sooner or later, these people had come around At one point, I had a discussion with one person. I said, "Do you want me to just quit giving you opportunities?" And this one person said, "Yeah, probably." And I said, "Okay, but we're still friends to this day." So again, remember what's in it for them. Why should they care? And listen.
She's awesome, isn't she? I knew you guys were going to like her. So thank you so much, Peggy Kirkpatrick with the GP Made Foundation, for checking this item off of my podcasting bucket list, since now you have officially been my guest. And thank you, audience, for listening and hanging out with me today. I feel like sharing all of this advice from Peggy is just bringing me one step closer to reaching my 2021 goal of helping 1,000 nonprofits have less stressful, more successful marketing. And not that I'm tracking, but you know I totally am. I am up to 377 downloads of my nonprofit marketing plan template. And as of February 5th, we have well over 70 people who have signed up for our audience discovery workshops, which is super exciting. I can't wait to have those. They're going to be so great. And hey, we're kicking off our nonprofit marketing plan workshop and consulting package. It goes on sale on February the 9th, and the cart closes on February the 12th. So act fast, because only 30 people are going to get to go through this process with me. I should say 30 organizations. Each organization can have up to 3 people in it, but only 30 organizations are going to get to go through the process of planning their 2021 marketing plan and then creating their content calendar, setting the frequency of their activities, and then last but not least, having a private consulting session with me to make sure that it's all attainable and exactly what they need to do to reach their goals this year. I'm so excited. So we're going to get there, friends. Thank you again. And until next time, go forth and market with purpose.